In the 90s, two giants of the sport clashed in an unprecedented war. On one side, WCW with its growing roster of superstars, and on the other, WWF, which had established itself as the leader in sports entertainment. This wasn't just a battle for viewership, it was a fight for the hearts of the fans, with the Monday Night Wars becoming the stage for one of the most intense rivalries in wrestling history. On one side, we have World Championship Wrestling, a force that challenged the dominance of WWF with its bold strategies and talent acquisitions. Led by the iconic Sting, the unstoppable Goldberg, the rebellious NWO faction, and the legendary Hollywood Hulk Hogan, WCW shook the wrestling world. Its history was marked by twists and bold moves, each surprising fans and setting the stage for an intense rivalry in sports entertainment. On the other side, we have World Wrestling Entertainment, then WWF, a giant that had already carved its place in history. Led by icons like The Rock, the relentless Stone Cold Steve Austin, the haunting presence of The Undertaker, and the charismatic Shawn Michaels, WWF established itself as a titan in the industry. It wasn't just about wrestling. It was about creating characters and stories that transcended the sport itself. Their faces and voices became synonymous with pop culture of the time. Thus, the Monday Night Wars were born, a groundbreaking battle for supremacy on Monday nights. WCW's Monday Nitro, broadcast live, clashed with WWF's Monday Night Raw, which was taped weekly, pushing the boundaries of fan expectations. Plot twists, shocking surprises, and storylines that blurred the lines between reality and entertainment kept audiences glued to their screens. Rivalries weren't just about winning matches. It was a fight for fan loyalty. From the infamous Montreal Screwjob to the shocking NWO invasion, this era redefined what wrestling could be, with betrayals and unexpected alliances. The lines between good and evil became increasingly blurred as stars switched promotions, forever changing the wrestling landscape. The excitement and unpredictability were unmatched. However, like in any great battle, there could only be one winner. In 2001, WWF emerged victorious, acquiring WCW and marking the end of the Monday Night Wars. It was a seismic shift in wrestling history that solidified WWF's supremacy for generations to come. But what happened? How did WCW fall from such great heights, even with its massive roster of stars? Was it the rise of new talents, or were there deeper issues at play? WWE, under the leadership of Vince McMahon, had already dominated the United States with nationwide broadcasts and established itself as the largest promotion in the industry. But there was a challenge. Another promotion, Georgia Championship Wrestling, GCW, had a key television slot on national TV. This posed a problem for McMahon, who sought to consolidate WWE's position. When GCW faced financial and management struggles, Vince seized the opportunity. On July 14, 1984, WWF took over GCW's TV time slot. Instead of continuing with the traditional wrestling style GCW fans were accustomed to, McMahon showcased his own brand of wrestling, focusing more on spectacle and entertainment. The transition alienated GCW's fan base, leading to a steep decline in viewership. This created an opening for Jim Crockett Promotions, JCP, a major player in the territory system, which absorbed many displaced fans. However, JCP also struggled with financial difficulties, and in 1988, Ted Turner, owner of Turner Broadcasting, acquired most of its assets. This marked the birth of World Championship Wrestling, WCW. Turner's entry into the wrestling world brought financial resources and visibility, but the promotion initially struggled to compete with WWF's global success. That's when Eric Bischoff entered the scene. Initially hired as a commentator, Bischoff identified WCW's need for a bold strategy. When Bill Watts stepped down, Bischoff rose to power as senior vice president, implementing drastic changes. He increased production quality, expanded the number of pay-per-views, and created WCW Monday Nitro, a live broadcast that gave WCW a competitive edge over WWF's pre-taped Monday Night Raw. Bischoff also targeted established WWF stars with lucrative contracts, luring names like Hulk Hogan, Randy Savage, Kevin Nash, and Scott Hall. The formation of the New World Order, NWO, in 1996, led by Hogan, Nash, and Hall, became one of wrestling's most impactful storylines. Hogan's heel turn shocked the wrestling world, and the NWO storyline helped WCW dominate the ratings for 83 consecutive weeks. During this period, WCW also revolutionized wrestling with its cruiserweight division, featuring stars like Rey Mysterio Jr., Dean Malenko, and Eddie Guerrero. The division introduced a high-flying, fast-paced style that captivated fans. Meanwhile, iconic moments like Sting's transformation into his Dark Crow persona and Goldberg's undefeated streak further solidified WCW's place in wrestling history. For a time, WCW truly rivaled WWF, capturing the hearts of fans and redefining the industry. The battle between the two wrestling giants intensified to the point where even WCW commentator Tony Schiavone revealed that Eric Bischoff, the man behind WCW, wanted to destroy WWE. And for a while, it seemed like WCW was on the right path to victory. But then, WWE took the first step in reversing the situation, introducing Stone Cold Steve Austin as the company's biggest star. On a Raw episode in 1996, a rivalry between Austin and Brian Pillman began, culminating in a segment that shocked everyone. Austin invaded Pillman's house and was filmed confronting him with a gun. It was something completely out of the ordinary for the time, something WWE had never dared to show before. The impact was immediate. Fans were in a frenzy, and even USA Network was surprised by the tone of the segment, which wasn't even censored. This moment helped shift the audience battle, as it started attracting a more adult audience, tired of childish storylines and rivalries. While WCW had a roster of giants like Bret Hart, WWE knew that the key to staying relevant was embracing bolder content. And that's exactly what the company did with the Raw's War revolution, where stories began to mix more reality with kayfabe. The Montreal Screwjob is a perfect example of this, when Vince McMahon broke the fourth wall by stating, "Bret screwed Bret." This moment was revolutionary for the industry and helped WWE surpass WCW for the first time in years. With the rising popularity of Stone Cold, The Rock, and the emergence of DX, WWE finally rose again and became an unstoppable force. In response, WCW made the fatal mistake of investing too much in Goldberg, who, despite being a huge attraction, couldn't compete with the rise of The Rock and Austin, who were dominating the scene with their intense rivalries. And in a memorable episode, Mankind won the WWE Championship on a taped Raw episode while WCW aired its show. What happened? Bischoff made the mistake of announcing the results of Raw on his show, which made 600,000 fans leave Nitro and switch to the rival program. This event became forever etched in history, as it was a crucial moment that led to WWE's victory. Later, Stone Cold made his famous appearance to save Mankind, generating one of the biggest crowd reactions in wrestling history. And what was happening in WCW at the time? The company was sinking into unsustainable and absurd storylines, with the boldness and inflated egos of some of its biggest stars, like Kevin Nash and Scott Hall. The plan to take down Goldberg, one of the company's last major attractions, was set in motion. During the Starrcade event, Goldberg, until then undefeated, was defeated by Nash in a way that made no sense to the fans. Instead of a clean match, Goldberg was hit with an electric prod, and Nash, almost absurdly, made the pin and won the title. The impact of this decision was immediate, and it didn't take long for fans to realize that WCW was wasting its chances to stay ahead. The NWO plot, which had once captivated everyone, was stretched to its limit, and to make matters worse, fans were bombarded with the introduction of the fake Sting and other ideas that only pushed the audience away. To crown the chaos, WCW had the idea of turning actor David Arquette into the World Heavyweight Champion, something that was seen as an insult, not only by the fans, but also by the wrestlers themselves. At the same time, as the company sank, the multi-million-dollar contracts of its stars became an unsustainable financial burden. Not only was the quality of the stories declining, but the locker room was filled with dissatisfied wrestlers, many of whom began to migrate to WWE. Meanwhile, the market was becoming increasingly hostile. In 2000, with WCW losing money and seeing its stars leave, Time Warner, the new owner of Turner Broadcasting, began to realize that the cost of keeping Nitro on the air wasn't worth it. What followed was a bankruptcy process that would culminate in WWE's purchase of WCW. It was in this scenario that Vince McMahon and his company emerged victorious in the ratings war, but what many didn't realize was that without WCW, WWE would never have been forced to reinvent itself the way it did with the Attitude Era. Eric Bischoff knew the end was near long before the public did. In an interview, he shared an uncomfortable conversation he had with the executives at Turner Broadcasting.
I got called to a meeting one morning, and I show up in that meeting, and there are 12 or 14 people sitting around a long conference table. They each went around the room, went around the table, and shared with me what they thought I should be doing with WCW. This guy, his name was Joe. He was the president of Turner Ad Sales. He sat there and he said, "You need to start producing your show for children and families. This show has to be comfortable for advertisers who are advertising to teens and preteens. Just like I forced WWF to stop doing, I needed to abandon that and go back to doing what my competitor was doing while I was kicking their ass." And I said, "That's insane. That makes no sense." And I left that meeting and I went home and I told my wife, I said, "I'm going to quit. I'm going to turn in my resignation. This is fucked up." And all this, by the way, is a result of the AOL Time Warner merger.
While he was trying to maintain the formula that had taken WCW to the top, the new administration, focused on more family-friendly and kid-oriented content, told Bischoff to abandon what had helped WCW beat WWE in the ratings war. This rivalry between WCW and WWE was not just a competition for ratings, but a battle that would define the future of the wrestling industry. In the end, although WCW failed in many ways, it left an important legacy. The company was the birthplace of legends like Rey Mysterio and Chris Jericho, who went on to shine both in WWE and in other promotions. And so, the big question remains: with the rise of new promotions like AEW, will history repeat itself? Will we see great talents wasted again due to poor decisions? Only time will tell, but the impact of WCW still resonates in everything we see in wrestling today. But how about you? What do you think? Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of the amazing videos we'll be releasing. And if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit the like button and share it with your friends. See you in the next one.